Hello and welcome. I'm Fern and I will be leading you through a hip opening sequence. As we age, hip mobility just becomes so much more important. So these sequences will help support and maintain flexibility and mobility in the hips. Before we get started, if you need a blanket, go ahead and grab that now. I'm sitting on mine just to give my hips a little lift. And we will begin with a grounding breath that I call triangle breath. So as we build our triangle, we inhale for 3, pause for 3, and exhale for 3. So that's inhale up, pause down, exhale, close the triangle. And if the pause is too long for you or not comfortable, you can either pause for 1 count or just completely remove it. So it would be inhale up, exhale down, inhale up, exhale down. So I will lead you through the first round, and then the second and third rounds we will all do on our own rhythm. Okay, so let's begin. Just gently close your eyes and just bring awareness to your breath. Trying to slow it down so you can slow your mind. Okay, so on the next inhale, we'll begin. So inhale for 3, 2, 1, pause, 3, 2, 1, exhale, 3, 2, 1. So do the next 2 rounds on your own rhythm. And then set an intention for yourself for the next few minutes. Go ahead and slowly open your eyes. And as we move through these movements, just bring your focus to your hips. So let's get started. I'm going to set my blanket aside, and the first pose we'll do is butterfly. So bring your feet together and then just slide them away from you to a point where you feel a little tension. So you might need to bring it in a little bit to feel the tension, just a little tension, or you might need to bring your feet forward a little bit, but you want to feel that opening in your hips. Okay, so let's lower down, make sure your head. So just make sure your head and neck are aligned as you fold forward. And we'll do 4 rounds of breath here. So you'll feel an opening in your hips and maybe a stretch in your inner thighs. And you're lengthening through the top of your head. So your top of your head is just reaching forward and up. And just remember where you are with this pose, because we will end with this pose, and just see if there is any difference after we do the movements. Okay, release your butterfly and place your hands behind you in a comfortable position. And then bring your feet a little closer to your thighs and a little bit wider than hip width apart. And we'll do some windshield wipers. So make sure your chest is nice and open and your shoulders are away from your ears. And we will lower our knees down to the floor, back up and down to the other side. So inhale up and exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down, and do maybe 2 more rounds after this because it just feels so good. And any movement that you do will release synovial fluid, which is a gel-like substance that is released whenever there's movement in the joints. So this is a great way to release that synovial fluid. Okay, so now let's lie on our backs. Move any props that you have, and we'll do a full body stretch. So just bring your arms over your head and just reach through your fingertips and reach through your toes. And this is just a wonderful stretch to do every morning, just to wake up your circulation and your fascia, connective tissue, muscles. And you can do the standing up as well if you don't want to do it lying down. And then bring your knees to your chest and give yourself the biggest hug. And maybe like sway from side to side. Okay, lower your feet to the mat, hip width apart, and bring your knee over your ankle so that you have something that looks like a figure 4. And just gently press your knee away from you, and you'll feel that release in your hips. Bring your focus to your hips. Notice how it's feeling when you press away and when you release. Notice the difference there. Or even if you just release a little bit. And over time, you might be able to just press a little further. Okay, lower your foot to the floor for a gentle twist in your lower back. And if your feet don't touch the floor, you can rest your ankle on your thigh. And you'll still get that hip opening here. And you can turn away for another twist. And then just play around with the position. But I'll let your release. Bring your leg back up and we'll switch sides. So ankle over thigh, pressing our knee away just a little bit and see how that feels. And breathing into that release. Please releasing tension, releasing emotion that tends to accumulate throughout the day, especially if we do a lot of sitting. Okay, now lower your foot to the floor or rest your ankle on your foot. Okay, and then turn away if you want to. You can even bring your arms out and breathe into that opening, that release of tension and stress. Okay, come back up lower your feet to the floor, and let's just pause here for a moment. So adjust your feet so that they're close to your foot because we're going into a hip bridge. Place your hands firmly into the mat and lift your hips up, and then just tuck your shoulders in a little bit so you can come up a little higher. So you want to engage your bottom to protect your back and your hips. Okay, you can bring your hands under, clasp your hands together underneath your back, up your chin, and feel the opening in your hips, in your belly, and your chest. One more breath. Inhale and exhale as you lower. Okay, very nice. Now let's roll over to onto all fours, and we'll come into a child's pose. So bring your knees maybe mat width apart or whatever is comfortable for you, and then bring your toes to touch. Send your hips back toward your heels and stretch out your arms. So lengthening through your fingertips as you bring your chest and belly closer to the floor. And if it feels better, you can send your hips back a little further, resting your forehead on the mat, connecting to a marma point that will trigger the nervous system for more calmness. And let's do a couple of rounds of breath here, resting, resetting our spine from the hip bridge. Now slowly come on up, and we'll come and sit on our bottoms. Bring our feet into something like a close to a 90 degrees. So we've got our back foot behind, our foot behind us, and then the front foot is resting on our thigh. We're going to place our hands firmly into the floor here. And then we're going to reach our arm up and bring our hip forward. So our gaze is up. And you're really engaging your glutes to protect your lower back and to press your hips open and forward. And you can also bring your arms out to the side for a chest stretch, or you can leave it where it was. Making sure your hands are firmly in the ground for stability, and then lower down. And let's switch sides. So your calves are behind you, your foot resting on your thigh, hand firmly into the ground next to your hip. Raise your arm up as you press your hip forward. And then just feeling that energy releasing from your thighs, through your hips, your side body, your arms, and all the way through your feet. Line of energy, so beautiful. That release in your hips feels liberating. Take another breath here. Inhale. And lower down on the exhale. And now for the final pose, we'll return to butterfly. And let's just see how our hips feel. Can you see if you can bring your feet a little closer to you? And if you can lower down a little bit more and see what the difference is for you. And just make any adjustments that you need to make. Hey, come on up. I hope you enjoyed this hip sequence, and remember to check the class schedule because all of the classes include a wonderful hip opening. So thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.